Welcome to Wildlife Yoga. I'm Jess and I have another prenatal class for you. Today we're going to focus on some strength building and some standing exercises. See if you can have a block or two, a pillow and a blanket. Having all those things will help make everything a little bit easier. So get ready to connect with your body and your baby, and I'll see you on the mat. As always, we'll start by centering our breath. If you would like to elevate your hips, you can go ahead and do that. If not, just find a comfortable seat here for a moment and just tune into your breath. As you tune into your breath, start to feel the sit bones rooting down to the ground. And while your sit bones root down into the ground, the crown of your head lifts up and becomes long. You're creating space for your lungs and for your belly, drawing your crown up even higher. And as your crown comes higher, drawing your shoulders down and away from your ears. Breathing deeply, using your senses apart from your sight to just become aware of the space around you. Listening to things that are close by and then things that are farther away. Listening to your body, feeling any sensations that are arising. And sit a little taller one last time. And with your breath, we'll start to make some neck circles here, bringing the chin down towards the chest, and then back and around, looking up towards the ceiling. And just take your time as you rotate through the neck here. Keeping your breath nice and long. And then we'll start to rotate in the other direction. Breathing in and out through your nose, feeling your belly expand. And then we'll come back to center. Walk your hands forward, come onto all fours. Take a few rounds of pelvic tilting here. Keep your ribs engaged. As you inhale, tilt the tailbone back. Exhale, tuck the tailbone under. And just continue that with your own breathing. So the ribs engaged looks kind of just like lifting your ribs up a little bit closer to the ceiling rather than just letting everything drop and open. Keeping our ribs lifted will help engage through the abdominal muscles ever so slightly. It's an engagement through the abdominals that isn't too excessive. So keep that tilting going, that rotation going. And then grab your blocks or your supports, whatever you're using, and bring them up to the top of your mat so that you're on all fours with the blocks helping you stabilize. And wherever you're at with your pregnancy, either bring the right leg out to the outside of the blocks or bring your right leg to the inside. So the larger your belly is, the larger baby is, it might feel a bit more comfortable to have your right leg out to the side. So while we're in this low lunge here, try to think about activating through the legs. So drawing the knee, the left knee towards the right heel and the right heel towards the left knee, just to engage. And try to keep this engagement as we just take some micro circles here through the sacrum. Lifting up out of the shoulders, just circling and finding some stability through the hips. Keep your breath nice and long. And then from here, we'll lift through the back leg, keeping the left heel lifted nice and tall, adjusting the blocks as you need to. And then we'll rise all the way up into a high lunge here, into a crescent lunge, keeping that heel lifted nice and high. And then try to think about drawing your right heel towards your left toes, maybe sinking a little bit more into that right knee. And then inhale, lift your arms up overhead if that feels available to you right now. And try to draw that rib cage from flaring out, drawing it back, just engaging the core a little bit. Keeping your right and left glute engaged. And we'll exhale, open to warrior two. This time the outer edge of the left foot is on the mat. And the right foot and the right heel are all pointing in the same direction. Again, drawing the chest back just a little bit to help you stay nice and engaged. We're not extending too far out in front. Inhale, come forward, and then exhale, bring your right hand to the block to the inside of your right leg. Opening up here through the left side body. Inhale and extend your left arm towards the front of you, making a long, straight line, keeping those ribs drawn back. And then if it feels good, maybe make some circles with your arm. Opening up through the shoulder socket. Feels really nice sometimes to have your arm back a little bit to open through the chest. Just move with your breath. And then we'll slowly rise all the way back up to warrior two. Extend your right leg. So coming into Trikonasana, triangle pose, we're straightening out the legs, but we don't want them to be hyperextended. So just a micro bend here. We'll extend the arms out, but before coming forward, bring our left hand to the left hip and lift the right arm up overhead, stretching through the right side body. And then come back to center. Inhale the right arm forward again, and then bring that hand all the way down, keeping the right leg extended this time. Left arm is lifted towards the ceiling. Really nice. Go ahead and pivot so that your toes are facing the same direction, and we'll grab our blocks. We'll come into a variation of pyramid pose. Now this is pretty intense here. So if you need to, you can even stack your blocks this way if you need a little bit of a higher thing to rest on. And take note that if you need a bit more space, you can bring your right foot out to the right side a little bit more and your left leg out to the left side. So it's not like you're standing on a balance beam. It's more like you're standing on railroad tracks. But wherever you're at, try to keep the hips tilted back, keeping the ribs engaged. And just start to hinge forward, maybe coming down a little bit more as you need to. Try to make sure you're not overdoing it, especially if you are already naturally flexible. It can be tempting to keep going really, really far throughout the pregnancy, but try to stay nice and active. And the way to do that, to protect ourselves from going too far, is to think about that engagement. So drawing the feet together, keeping the ribs pulled back, the belly engaged. Breathing into that space. Really nice. Then we'll slowly step that left foot forward. So we're coming into a half forward fold. And we'll rest our hands on our knees here. And we'll take a few pelvic tilts. So exhale, tuck the tailbone under. Inhale, point the tailbone back. Continuing with your own breathing, maybe sinking down a little bit further, bending your knees a little bit more if that feels good. And then we'll slowly rise all the way up to standing. Heel toeing our feet a little bit closer together, checking in with our stance here. So feeling all four corners of your feet, not putting all your weight into your heels or into the balls of the feet. Bend in the knees ever so slightly, looking down at your toes, and then lifting up, keeping that lower body in the same position here, drawing the rib cage back, drawing the chin back, shoulders come up towards the ears and then down and away. Taking note of this posture right here, and how this posture is a very inlined way to be standing. It can become really easy to start to walk in a variety of positions as we extend throughout, as we start to grow in the pregnancy. So coming really far forward or tucking the hips under and slouching. Lots of different variations that we can start to fall into. But if we can try to pay attention to our standing alignment and how we're walking around, it will help our spine and help us to keep good posture. Go ahead and bring your hands to your belly. We'll just start to sway side to side. And from wherever you are, we'll just sway side to side so that we're facing the long edge of the mat. Swaying back and forth. You can have your legs a bit wider if you need a bit more stability. If it feels good to have your legs closer together, that is totally fine. Just having your hands on your belly, no matter how far along you are. Just sending some love to this area of your body that is experiencing so much change. And sending some love down to that soul inside of you who's growing. And then from here, we'll take our legs out wide, grabbing your blocks, bringing them in between your legs here. So with your legs out wide, we'll start with our toes pointed in slightly and your heels pointed out. Bring your hands to your hips and inhale, lengthen. Exhale, hinge from the hips, come forward and rest your hands on the blocks here. And just like we were doing as we were standing, we're checking in with how our feet are experiencing weight distribution. So very often we tend to put a lot of our weight in our heels. I'm going to try to even that out and put more weight oftentimes into the balls of the feet than what's naturally there. So finding that place of balance, noticing that you are supported here. And take a couple of big deep breaths, maybe swaying your hips from side to side again, if that feels nice for you. Keep your breathing long in and out through your belly. Remember to draw your hips up instead of just letting everything sink down. And that's just a slight engagement. We're not rounding through the spine, just drawing the ribs back towards the spine a little bit. Then bring your right hand and your right block so that it's right in the center. Lift your left arm up overhead, twisting open towards the left. Noticing any changes in sensation you're feeling down the legs. And then we'll gently switch sides, bringing your left hand down to the center. Lift your right arm up overhead. And then bring your hand back down. We'll take the blocks and start to walk them over to our left leg as we pivot our toes towards the left side of the mat, coming into a low lunge with the left leg forward this time. Now remember, you can have your left leg to the outside of the blocks or to the inside of the blocks, whatever your body is needing, whatever you have space for. And we'll just take some hip circles here as well. Rotating in both directions. And then go ahead and bring your left knee down, coming down onto the mat. Knees come out nice and wide. Make your way into your variation of child's pose. Extending those arms out in front of you. Taking some nice deep breaths. Using this as an opportunity to practice your pelvic floor expansions and contractions. So as you inhale, allow your pelvic floor to expand and open like a blooming flower. And then as you exhale, the flower closes, the pelvic floor contracts and lifts. So inhale, the flower blooms. Exhale, the flower closes. Continuing this awareness with your own breathing. And then we'll slowly rise back up onto all fours. Bringing the toes to tuck under, pushing into the mat, lifting the rib cage to engage. Take a few circles here, just focusing on the sacrum. Rotating in one direction. I'm going counterclockwise right now. And then pausing and rotating in the other direction, going clockwise. Keeping your toes pushed into the mat, lifting up through the rib cage. And then grab a hold of your blocks, coming back onto all fours with the blocks helping you to lift up. We'll bring the left leg out in front again, but this time we'll hinge the hips back, coming into a half split Ardha Hanumanasana, pointing those toes up towards the ceiling. Drawing that left hip back, trying to keep the spine nice and long rather than rounding through the spine and tucking and curling. Stay nice and open through the back of the left leg. And we'll walk the blocks as we hinge forward. Walk the blocks forward as you hinge the hips forward. Maybe lift your back knee up a little bit to open up through the front of the right hip flexor. If you want to take this even further, you can take your right hand to your right ankle and help lift up a little bit more. That might feel nice as you open up through the front of the right thigh. Then we'll walk the blocks and the hands back as we straighten out the left leg. And then walk the blocks and the hands forward, lifting the right ankle, maybe holding on to it with your right hand. And then letting it come all the way back down. Lift the right knee so that the right heel is pointed up towards the ceiling. We'll slowly rise up, maybe use your knee to help you on the way, and lift all the way up into our crescent lunge. Keep your breath nice and long, drawing your feet closer towards each other. Engaging through the right glute, maybe lifting those arms up overhead if that feels available to you right now. Drawing your ribs back, engaging through the abdomen. Maybe bending a little bit more into that left knee if you've begun to straighten out. Just building strength here. We'll exhale, open to warrior two. Finding strength here again. The outer edge of the right foot is on the mat. Pulling the feet together, bending through that left leg. Inhale deeply, and then exhale. Bring that left hand down. Lift the right arm up overhead. And we begin to take some big circles here. If that felt good for you on the other side, or maybe you didn't do it on the other side and you want to try it on this side. It felt really good to facilitate some opening through the chest as you rotate. Keeping your breath going. And then we'll rise all the way back up to warrior two. Extending those arms out wide, looking forward. And then we'll straighten out the left leg. So remember, we're trying to avoid any sort of hyperextension, so keep a micro bend in your knees. Bring your right hand to your right hip, lift your left arm up and overhead. Breathing into that left side body opening. And then come back forward, keeping that left leg straight. Inhale, bring that left arm as far forward as you can. And then exhale, bringing it all the way down, lifting your right arm up overhead. Trying to imagine that you're peeling your chest and your hip open towards the ceiling. Keeping your breath long and strong through your nose, keeping your belly moving. And then we'll bring that right hand down to the blocks, pointing the toes so that they're both facing forward, taking a couple of small steps forward with the right leg, stacking the blocks if you need a bit of extra support as we come into pyramid here. Pointing the toes in that same direction, taking the feet a bit wider if you need to, walking the right foot out to the right, left foot out to the left. And just try to think about squaring off the hips here, drawing into the rib cage, and then beginning to hinge forward. So finding that appropriate spinal alignment before going deeper into the posture. Maybe as you expand through your spine, also drawing your feet together to engage through the legs a little bit more. And then from here, we'll take a couple of small steps, working our way back up to our the back of our mat this time. Bringing your hands to your knees, coming into a variation of chair pose. And we'll take a couple more pelvic tilts. Exhale, tucking the tailbone under. Inhale, lengthening it back. And before standing all the way, grab your blocks. We'll take a supported half forward fold. And heel toe your feet into a position that feels good for you. Maybe that means bringing them a bit closer together, a bit further apart. And we'll just start to pedal through the legs, just feeling some stretching all the way along the hips. And as you're doing this, try to think about engaging through the ribs, drawing them back towards the ceiling. Not allowing them to flare out in front of you, but rather drawing in. And really allow your body to just feel the depth of this movement into your hips as you paddle back and forth. Continue paddling out your legs, feeling your hips move into place Move through these different areas, engaging through your ribs, drawing them up. And then we'll slowly make our way all the way to standing, pausing halfway if you need to. Again, finding that proper posture, standing place here. Spreading the weight evenly across your feet. Drawing your ribs back, your chin back, opening up through your chest. Making sure your pelvis isn't tucked under, but staying nice and open. And bring your hands to your belly. And then on your inhale, bring your arms up overhead as you come onto your tippy toes. Exhale, let your arms and heels fall. Inhale, lift. Exhale, let everything fall down. Inhale, lift. Let everything fall. Woo. Try not to fall backwards. Inhale, lift one more time. And then exhale, fall, releasing everything down into the ground, shaking your legs out, shaking your arms. And then we'll bring our hands onto our bellies and we'll start to sway again, working our way back to face the long edge of the mat. Now, this swaying motion can be really good for releasing tension in the hips. It can also be very beneficial for during labor and helping the baby find the proper position to make their way down into the birth canal, down through the pelvis. So finding your way to the long edge of your mat, we'll bring the legs out wide again. And this time we'll point the toes out instead of pointing them in. And bring the hands onto your thighs and start to bend down, keeping your knees open nice and wide. Bring one shoulder in, starting with the right shoulder and twisting over to the left side, maybe helping your hips open a little bit more. And then bring your left shoulder in, opening up towards the right. Keep your spine nice and long as you do this. Breathing in and out through your nose, feeling your belly expand and contract. Take just one more round. If you're feeling a lot of tension in your legs, you can do it just for a little bit longer. And then we'll come back to center and straighten out our legs. Good. Let's heel toe our feet back together. Shake your legs out a little bit. And then we'll bring the legs nice and wide once again, this time with the toes pointing towards the center. And reach down for your blocks if you have them. Coming down into your half forward fold. So to just help remember, bring your hands to your hips and hinge forward, resting your hands on the blocks, keeping your spine nice and long. And we'll just start to hinge from side to side, starting to bend one leg and then the other. So it's kind of like what we were doing in our half forward fold, but now we're doing it sideways. Just feeling it a little bit more into our hips. And then make your way all the way back to center. We'll walk the blocks up towards our right leg this time, coming back into our low lunge. We'll work our way through half split and then opening up through the left thigh. So walk your hands and your blocks back as you straighten out your right leg, drawing your right hip back, drawing your ribs back, making sure you're avoiding rounding through the spine but staying nice and long. And then walk your hands and your blocks forward as you bend through that left knee, maybe reaching back for the left ankle, opening up a little bit more through the front of that left leg. And then walk the hands back, straighten out the right leg. Keeping your breath nice and long, allowing yourself to ease into these movements. And then walking the blocks back again. And forward, opening up through the front of that left leg. And then we'll go ahead and come down onto all fours, the blocks supporting us. And then make our way down onto the mat. So we'll work our way towards pigeon pose. And this will be really helpful if you want to use your blocks and that's all you have, that is totally fine. If you do have a pillow, it'll make this a little bit easier here. If you're comfortable coming all the way into a regular pigeon, go ahead and just do that. So we'll walk our hands walk your hands forward so you're on all fours, and we'll extend the left knee up and over. So try to crawl up and over that pillow if you're using it. Walking your foot out to the side a little bit more, and then just using that pillow to support you underneath your pelvis. And you might need to adjust a little bit, so maybe you need to scoot a little bit more forward, just finding a place that feels comfortable and supported for you. And breathe into this pigeon pose, trying to focus on drawing your rib cage back, of course. Avoid any hyperextending through your elbows as you're supporting yourself here. Try to keep your left foot flexed and pushing into the mat. And then maybe play around with how you have your foot. So having your right toes tucked under versus having the top of your right foot down, working your way back and forth. Just finding a place that feels comfortable, a place where you can relax into the pose. Remembering to draw your ribs back so that you're not extending too far through the belly. And with your breath, send some love down to the back of your sacrum, down to that space between the back of the hips and the base of your spine. If you would like to go a little bit deeper and you have room to do so, you can grab your blocks or another sort of support and start to walk your hands forward, maybe resting your forearms down. Of course, the depth at which you go down will depend on how far along you are, how big baby is. And if you'd like to make the stretch more intense, you can start to walk your left heel up closer towards the front of your mat. And with all of these variations, you're more than welcome to just stay here. If you would like to work more on stretching through the front of the right leg, you can have a block here to help support you. And then you can bend your right knee, just like we did before in our low lunge, and start to bring that leg up a little bit higher. And you can take that to much higher depths as well. Just make sure you're not extending too far through the belly. You want to draw those ribs back to stay nice and active, so we're not overstretching through the belly. Really nice. We'll gently release wherever you're at. Make your way back onto all fours, taking any additional movements. Maybe you need to even lift your leg up manually to help move it over that pillow. And we'll just take some pelvic tilting again, or some circling, whatever feels better for you. Just finding some equilibrium through the hips. And then we'll come forward to pigeon on the right side. So taking that right knee up and over, getting there however you need to. Bringing that right foot up and over as well, using that pillow to help support. And just lift up nice and high. Remembering our alignment here of drawing our rib cage back to engage through the abdominal muscles and avoid excessive stretching through the belly, pushing into the outer edge of the right foot as it remains flexed. avoiding any hyperextending through the elbows. And then play around with having the top of the left foot down versus having the left toes tucked under, and just notice which one feels better for you. And just breathe into this posture. Remember, we're focusing on the sacrum area, the space between the back of the pelvis and the very base of the spine. And options to take this deeper include maybe walking that right foot up a little bit closer to the top of the mat, maybe coming down onto the forearms to get a little bit deeper. Just remember, no matter what you do, keep the right foot flexed and the outer edge of the right foot pushing into the mat. And keep your breath nice and long. If you would like to focus some more expansion into the front of the left leg, you can go ahead and lift up. Just make sure you draw the rib cage back and hinge through the knee, bringing the left heel closer towards you, reaching back with the left hand. Just taking it nice and gentle. Sometimes it can be kind of frustrating to recognize we don't have as much mobility. Maybe you're super bendy and flexible and able to do all sorts of movements before you're pregnant, and then things change. But try to embrace that change and try not to push yourself beyond what feels comfortable. Really take these classes, take this time to listen to what your body needs in the state that it's in right now. And go ahead and gently release. Walking your hands back up if they're out in front of you. And then we'll make our way onto all fours, grabbing your leg and moving it if you need to. Taking a couple more rounds of pelvic tilting. Bring your knees nice and wide. Make sure you have space here. And we'll just start to take some really big circles. We're getting our bodies ready to rest in Shavasana. Making your way to circle in the other direction. And then we'll come all the way back into child's pose. Stretching those arms out forward, either having the toes tucked under or the tops of the feet down, whatever your body's needing. And take a couple more pelvic floor expansions and contractions. Breathe in and your pelvic floor expands and lowers, and then breathe out. Your pelvic floor lifts and contracts. Feel like the blooming metaphor. As you inhale, the flower blooms and opens. And as you exhale, the flower closes and contracts. And take a couple more breaths like this. Eventually working your way towards a comfortable seat. We'll set up for Shavasana. If you feel more comfortable laying on your side, you are more than welcome to do that. If you feel comfortable laying on your back, you can do that as well. From here, I'll show you the reclined position, taking the blocks so that one is taller than the other, just so we can lay onto our backs while being supported. Gently resting all the way back, making any shifts as needed. And either keeping the soles of the feet together in a Supta Baddha Konasana or stretching the legs out wide. So just maybe try both positions and notice what your body is needing right now. And if you'd like to open up through your chest, bring your arms out nice and wide like a T. And just let your body be nice and heavy. Knowing that you are supported here, you can allow your body to be heavy, to rest and relax. Remember that throughout the Shavasana, you can stay here, number one, as long as you would like to, longer than we are even. And number two, you can adjust your positioning at any time to make yourself more comfortable. Just because you picked one position does not mean you have to stay there. And while you're laying here, focus on your toes. Allow your toes to relax and become heavy. Allow that awareness at your toes to extend up the soles of the feet. Feeling your heels, your ankles, even up to the tops of your feet, feeling nice and relaxed and heavy. Draw your awareness up your shins and your calves, circling around your knees, allowing your lower legs to become heavy and relaxed. Allow your awareness to rise to your hamstrings and your thighs, swirling all around your hips, the outer, the inner, and everything in between, in the glutes and the low back. Completely relax and become heavy. And allow your awareness to rise up to your belly, rise up across the mid-back, circling around like a big warm scarf is draped around your midsection. And that heaviness and that relaxation is able to penetrate all the way through, reaching your baby. And even those organs that are moving and shifting around to make space for this growing life. Allow that deep relaxation to rise up into your heart. And then expand outward to your lungs, your diaphragm, your inner rib cage, your back, reaching along your shoulder blades, and then swirling all the way around your chest and your upper back. Allow that relaxation to swirl around your shoulders and your shoulder blades, and extend all the way down your biceps and your triceps, your elbows, your forearms, swirling around your wrists, and completely enveloping your hands down to each individual finger. That relaxation extends all the way back up your arms and then up into your neck, the front of your throat, the back of your neck, up into the base of the skull, all the way around the scalp up towards the eyebrows, relaxing the forehead, allowing the eyes to become heavy, the cheeks relaxed, the mouth gently resting, the tongue gently draped across the roof of the mouth. And then this relaxation and this heaviness embraces your entire body, bringing you peace, bringing you love, and helping you to rid yourself of anything that doesn't serve you, just being here with your body in this moment, with your body and your baby. Relishing this special time that you have to share this body together. I'll take a couple of deep breaths in and out, feeling your belly expand. If your knees are out wide, draw them together and maybe let them rock from side to side. Using your legs to lift your hips up and shifting them over to the side, and allowing your arms to help you roll onto your side and eventually all the way back up to a comfortable seat. Taking a moment to feel grounded and centered as you have adjusted your positioning right now. And just take a couple of deep breaths in, and then we'll breathe out with an open mouth sigh. So breathe in through your nose. Two more times, breathing in. One more time, breathe in. Really nice. Hope you had a wonderful time here today. I know I did, and I look forward to seeing you next time.